Okay, so it's Monday, and just in case some of y'all forgot, we still have 5 simple rules for success. The first rule for success is number 1. Your backpack with your phone goes behind my desk. Rule number 2. Stay in your seat. Rule number 3. When the lights go off, you are silent. When the lights are on, you can talk a little, and I might warn you if you're talking too much, but when the lights go off, you are silent. Number 4. When called on, give me a thoughtful answer. So remember, if you can't give me a thoughtful answer where you're really thinking about what you want to say and you don't know the answer to my question, you say, "Can you please ask me a different question?" And I will. And if you don't know the answer to that question, then again, "Can you please ask me a different question?" And I will be happy to keep asking you questions until we come up with one that you can answer. And the final simple rule for success is if I write it, you write it too. If it's important enough for me to write, it is important enough for you to write. So first of all, anyone have any questions about the rules? Then let's get on with the lesson. Okay, the first QSSA we're doing today is how do I find the area of a triangle? So show me your fist or your symbol if you know how to find the area of a triangle. Okay, so the sentence stem says, to find the area of a triangle, I multiply blank times blank and divide by blank. And here's what we're going to use here's our word bank we're going to use. 2, height, and base. So when you know each one, where to fill in each word in the blanks, you rewrite the statement right here. Our overall concept that we're going to be talking about today is volume. Who remembers what volume means or anything about volume? I will pause. The two concepts about volume, the two types of volume we're going to talk about are rectangular and we're also going to talk about triangle. So let's look at the characteristics that are different. So first of all, we're just going to draw a triangle. There's 2 types of triangles that we're going to see. There's a right triangle and an isosceles triangle are basically the 2 types we're going to see. And the characteristic of them that we need to know is how do we find their area? Who remembers how to find the area of a triangle? I will pause. the area is base times height divided by 2. For a rectangle, we could have a long rectangle like this. Even a square is a type of rectangle. So those are the two types of rectangles we're going to see. And who remembers how to find the area of a rectangle? I will pause. For a rectangle, area is base times height. So what's similar about rectangles and triangles? Well, they're both bases. They're both bases of prisms. And for both of them, we multiply base times height to find the area. So for a rectangle, we do base times height For a triangle, we do base times height divided by 2. So the similar thing is that we use base and height in both shapes. So who could tell me something that's similar about finding the area of triangles and rectangles? I will pause. So let's look at what's not alike about them. So for triangles, we could have base times height or base times height. And the big difference is for a triangle, we're going to do base times height divided by 2. As far as rectangles, one thing that makes them easy is a lot of times it's easier to find the height and the base. And another thing that's easier about a rectangle is you just do base times height and you don't have to divide it by 2. So which shape do you divide by 2 when you're finding the area? I will pause. So the main thing, the unlike category is how do we find the area? Now for our big summary, we're going to try to just write one thing that describes it all. Every prism has a base. If the base is a rectangle, we do base times height. if it's a triangle, we do base times height divided by 2. The one extension that I want to talk about is this. We're doing 3D figures. So the one extension that I want you to talk about is that 3D figures need three numbers to multiply. So if we have a 2D figure, we multiply 2 numbers. If we have a 3D figure, we multiply how many numbers? I will pause. Let's look at this triangular prism. So the first thing that we see is that it's a 3D figure. So how many numbers do we need to multiply to find the volume of a 3D figure? I will pause. So one of these numbers we don't need. We need the base, we need the height, and we need the length of the prism. So the number we don't need is which number? I will pause. We don't need this 20. So the volume of a triangular prism is base times height times length. So what do we call this shape? I will pause. We call it a prism. And we already did the formula. Okay, so what numbers do we multiply to get the area of the base? What's the base and height of the base of this prism? I will pause. 14 times 12. And what do we always divide by when we're doing a what do we always divide by when we're doing a triangle? I will pause. We divide by 2. And what is the height of this prism? In other words, what's the third number that we haven't used yet? It's 10. So what 3 numbers are we going to multiply to find this prism? I will pause. 14 times 12 times 10. And what do we divide by? I will pause. We divide by 2. So everyone get your calculators and let's multiply these 3 numbers and then let's divide by 2. So I will pause to give you time and then I'm going to ask someone to tell me the answer. It is 840 centimeters cubed. Remember, we have that 3 there because it's a 3D figure and we always multiply. How many numbers do we multiply to find the volume of a 3D figure? I will pause. We multiply 3 numbers to find the volume of a 3D figure. Okay, this one is a little bit trickier. what numbers do we multiply to find the area of this triangle that's the base of the shape? Which two numbers do you think we're going to multiply? We're going to do 6 times 8. We don't use the 10 because the 6 and the 8 are the two sides that form that right angle right there. And then what's the third number we multiply? Because this is a triangle and a triangular prism. It's a prism, so what's the third number we multiply? I will pause. 12. And then what do we divide by since it's a triangular prism? I will pause. We divide by 2. So I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to call on someone to tell me what's the volume of this shape. It is 288 inches cubed. And I'm going to pause and ask somebody, why do we put that little 3 when we're doing inches cubed? Because we're multiplying 3 numbers to get a 3-dimensional figure.